We're ready to start this afternoon session. For the afternoon session, we will have somebody that you probably know already. Most of you know already. We will have it as section moderator, Mr. Henry Chimera. He's the team leader of the Global Consumer Center, Consent, a well-respected consumer organization in Africa, which focuses on consumer protection, food safety and product safety, quality culture, assurance, ethical and better business, and sustainability, besides being involved in policy advocacy, empowerment, engagement, and outreach. We've all seen Henry being very passionate about what he does just earlier. With 30 years of experience serving as consumer advocate and representative, Henry Chimera serves as chairperson of COPOLCO, convener of COPOLCO Working Group 21 on communication and outreach, vice chairperson of the Uganda National Mirror Committee to ISO COPOLCO, and member to a number of UNBS technical committee. Please welcome Henry Chimera for his afternoon session as moderator.
Thank you, Adrian. Good afternoon, fellow consumers. I'm sorry, I'll make sure that I moderate not to give you indigestion, but to moderate in such a way that you get good metabolism. By the time we close off or we have the break, you have got value for the nutritious meal that you took in. So once again, most welcome to Nairobi, Kenya, and our host, CABES. Thank you for giving us a working environment. So fellow consumers under COPOLCO, here we are going in to discuss something very important, something that we rub shoulders with. But let me give a jab, or one will call an uppercut in boxing. Some of you didn't live a circular economy during your lunch. You served your plates with a lot of food, and you left it on your plates. So when we go to the circular economy and responsible consumers, we need to promote no food waste and no food loss and waste. So I'm sorry for giving you an uppercut and also to making sure that you behaved a little bit irresponsibly. So that is just to awaken you to the subject matter we are going to. So colleagues, this afternoon we are going to spend around about 2.5 hours digging into a new subject matter, but a subject matter that we have lived with, both knowingly or unknowingly. And this subject matter is all about empowering consumers, engaging in the development of circular economy standards. And in here, we have quite a number of eminent presenters, practitioners with vast experience. And the first, and to make the life easy for everybody and also not to have my tongue as a dessert, what I'm going to do, I'll call in the panelists by their first names, or first name, because at times I might try to do a tongue twist and I might end up having it as a dessert. So colleagues, let me start with our key presenter who's going to give us a curtain riser. And I would like to introduce to you Christine, or Catherine, who is the Circular Economy Director at Velia, a water, waste, and energy management company. She's going to speak to us with a vast experience because she has been a chairperson of the ISO Technical Committee on Circular Economy, ISO TC 323, since 2019. And 2019, that is when most of us last saw ourselves physically. But and she's very passionate about implementing the circular economy solutions to contribute to saving the planet. So Catherine is here today to share with us the publication of the circular economy standards, which were developed in record time because of the climate change is not waiting. She's also committed to continue developing of the circular economy standards with contribution from consumers this time. So that is why we need your active engagement today. And let's offer Catherine and the TC 323 the necessary consumer input in the next revision of the circular economy standards. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take this opportunity to welcome Catherine, who is online. She will share with us a brief that will give us a curtain riser to our panelists, who will bring in their vast wealth. And as Adrian gets her online, I would like to just say who our panelists are going to be, though I will not introduce them in detail. We will have Nikki Stopford, who will bring in a wealth of experience. Then we will have Rosemary Mpofu, who will also bring in another vast experience, and from Zimbabwe. Nikki is from UK, United Kingdom, and Rosemary is from Zimbabwe. Then we will have Emma Munyanga from South Africa. So that will give us a diverse experience from all kind of spheres, and then we will see how best we can hold our discussions thereafter. This will, as they get Catherine, thereafter, this would lead us into some group discussions where we will dive into getting to understand what are the challenges, what are the issues, who will be responsible to get the consumer engagement. You'll find that since morning, we are rubbing shoulders, digging into how best we can sustain and scale up consumer engagement in respective aspects. So here is another aspect of the circular economy, empowering consumers and getting them involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, Adrian,
yes.
do we have?
We are ready.
We are ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a few other minutes to listen to our colleague, and thereafter we'll roll in. Thank you very much. Okay, you are most welcome, Catherine, sorry.
Unmute my machine. Okay, can you say something now, Catherine? No?
Then she
Can you
needs
unmute
to
her?
unmute.
hear you now.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Thank you for your patience. Yes.
No problem. No problem. So can you please go to the next slide, please?
Okay. Here it is.
If possible.
Can you see the slide? Did we lost you again?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. No, I'm here.
Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
I can see the slide. This one, because we were all ISO. So let's go to the next one. Can you go to the next one, please?
You have it?
No, very good.
It's just that our internet is a little bit slow, so whatever we...
No, no problem. Stop. Up to now, we are living in a linear economy, and but we know that this linear economy and we all like climate change, like biodiversity, biosphere's integrity,
This sound doesn't work.
has been created to
Catherine, I'm so sorry. You cannot come clear. You cannot come clear through the mic. We cannot hear you.
I will come back to this one better.
We cannot hear you, Catherine. It's an issue with the internet. It's very slow.
Okay.
Maybe if you turn off the camera, we will be able to hear you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
That's better like that?
Yes, it's already better.
Okay. So we decided within ESO to pick a committee on circular economy to provide an answer to our quarantine system. Could you please go to the next slide? Yes, you. We were 100 countries around the table. It's a big committee for ISO. Trees coming from Africa.
Okay, I'm afraid, Catherine, I'm sorry. I'm afraid we will not be able to hear you. So, unless we're gonna fix this one for tomorrow, when you have another intervention, it's gonna be difficult for us to hear you. We will just keep the finger crossed that by tomorrow the internet will be stable enough so we can hear you. It's the same presentation that, the same slide deck that Catherine was trying to show us today will be presented tomorrow. Unfortunately, the internet is extremely slow, so the voice is not coming properly, and it's no point to try to connect. At this point, I think we should just, since we are already late, we can just advance and move to the next section where we have the panelists. Henry?
Well, it is unfortunate that an enabler of the circular economy is technology, and technology has kind of
Failed us this
let
time.
us down, but this is where at times they say that a face-to-face with technology, when it fails, like most of you have been very happy seeing colleagues you last saw in 2019 due to COVID, but you're meeting them online, and now today you're meeting them physically. So ladies and gentlemen, this gives me a pleasure so that you have an opportunity to interface face-to-face with the panelists. So at this point in time, I would like to welcome Nikki Stockport. I'll talk about her briefly as she walks to the podium. She walks into the podium with 25 years experience advocating and raising industrial standards for consumer. So Nikki has currently, she's a chairperson of the British Standards Institute Consumer Forum. Yeah, you can, is it afterwards? No. Oh, she presents then? Okay. So Nikki comes in with a vast experience, and currently she is the chairperson, as I was saying, for the Consumer Forum, and brings together consumer advocacy organizations, government departments, regulator, enforcement agencies to strengthen the UK consumer voice in standards. She has expertise in consumer research, engagement, advocacy, publishing, and she has held executive leadership in roles of developing consumers facing digital products and services. She has run successful content-led businesses that have engaged and advocated for millions. So she's also a co-founder and a joint CEO of Consumer Voice, a UK website and a community dedicated promoting awareness and engagement with groups for legal actions. So for over 10 years, she was the group director research and publishing at Which, and most of you have interfaced with Which, the largest UK consumer organization. So Nikki, you're most welcome to share with us your expertise and experience for us all to pick up from.
Thank you very much, Henry. Lovely introduction. Okay, so let's hope we have some more success now. I just wanted to start by just saying a few words about why consumer engagement and participation is so important in when it comes to making better circular economy standards. So I suppose the first thing to say that Catherine responsibility to really lead the way when it comes to eliminating waste and pollution in the production and manufacturing of products and services in the first place by making them more durable and so that they can be easily repaired or replaced. But circular consumption then is really in the hands of individuals that are consuming those products and services. And as this quote illustrates that I took from Earth Day, one of the most important actions that we, as both consumers and shoppers, can take to support a circular economy is to buy products that last and that we can use multiple times. So if consumers enable a circular economy, then we should also ensure that there are the right mechanisms in place so that they really sit at the heart of the design of circular economy standards. And I would argue as well, to make that effective, consumer engagement should also be circular and not a linear process. And I just want to probably spend sort of most of my time just looking at what that might look like by presenting a potential framework for doing that based around 5 key principles, those being to be early in the process, to be proactive, to be imaginative, to be inclusive, and to be iterative. And just to explain those a little bit, so being early in the process, that is about being as early in the process of developing standards as possible, but it's also about being really clear about the objectives that you want to achieve with engagement, and the underlying strategic purpose that that engagement will bring in terms of the contribution that it can make to good and effective standards development. And so just in terms of, I think we're on a old version. I'll come back to the questions in a moment, because I will have a sort of question that we could ask ourselves as well. So then in terms of being proactive, that's about understanding the current landscape and stakeholders that you need to get around the table, and not literally around the table, but those voices around the table to really help you with that engagement process. Being imaginative is about having as wide and varied an engagement plan as possible, and we've heard some of the challenges around resources and time available already, and even expertise and contributions that can be made. So it's about using all the different tactics that you can do to make sure different voices are heard, from having actual participation within committee group meetings through to holding topical workshop groups Julie talked about earlier this morning, through to actually just harnessing available data and insight that's already out in the market. Being inclusive is about making sure that you're reflecting the different consumer groups and consumers' needs and preferences within the considerations that you're making that are relevant to those, to the standards at hand. And then being iterative. It's not just the ending, that's not the end of the process. It's about emphasizing the ongoing engagement with continuous feedback and review, and reflecting on changing behaviours and attitudes as time goes on, particularly in an area like this. So just to illustrate the types of questions you might ask yourself under each of these areas. So in terms of being early in the process, that really is, asking yourself, what can you do to achieve, what do you want to achieve from consumer stakeholder engagement, and how do you want to do that? By being proactive, you're asking yourself which consumer stakeholders are critical to your success in standards making, and how can you access them, whether that is about having people representing consumer interests around the table, or whether it is about drawing on existing data and insight. In terms of enabling a varied engagement plan, that's asking yourself what methods of engagement you're going to use and how you can make them proportionate as well, to address the issues around resources and lack of resources and availability. From an inclusive perspective, how can you design an approach that ensures all voices are heard, and all relevant voices that are heard around the table? And then just finally, just in terms of ongoing engagement, what you need to do to review and update to reflect the changing needs and preferences of consumers over time. So that's a sort of framework that I would propose for ensuring effective stakeholder engagement in terms of making better circular economy standards.
Colleagues, may you recycle your clapping? May you please recycle your clapping? What a beautiful framework she has given us. And I feel that that framework is well grounded, and it is like a plug and play. Because I find that at all levels, it is a good framework to start with, and we can localize it. So thank you very much, Nikki, because I feel energized. And I feel like going back or flying back home and start doing the circular economy, inclusivity, and engaging consumers, because you have really localized it. Thank you very much. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, where is Rose, my chairperson? Colleagues, you might think that we have a syndicate with Rose. Rose, if I start at the end of her CV, as you get here to the podium, Rose, she's my chairperson under the Common Market of East and Southern Africa Competition Commission. There is a consumer committee. So she's a chairperson. Then she's part of the chairperson's advisory committee of ISO COPOLCO. So she represents the African region there and other reps. Then I become her chairperson at ASO Consumer Committee. So this is when I was reading her resume or her profile, and I said, colleagues might think that there is a syndicate in consumer representation, and the both of us, we are kind of taking the space of others. But colleagues, it is due to few consumer organizations coming in. So that means we need to mentor them to come and fill up the space. So ladies and gentlemen, Rose is a chairperson of CCZ, the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe, that hosted us in 2019. You remember the beautiful dance, the elegancy, and I know you give a minute of silence to remember Rose, who was the chief executive then. And Rose, not only that, she's also the chairperson of the Standards Association of Zimbabwe. She's a board and council member of Consumers International. She's a commissioner with the Consumer Protection Commission of Zimbabwe. And with that, she's the best person to bring in how best we can also engage consumers in the issues to do with the circular economy. The rest of her profile, you'll read at leisure. So Rose, the floor is yours to share with us and add value to our afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henry. Colleagues, I would like to begin by thanking all of you for this opportunity to share just a little bit. Adrian has emphasized that it should just be 5 minutes. I'm just going to engage in a discussion on consumer participation in standards development in the circular economy. So it's important to note that standards are the major solution in consumer protection, as they support sustainable trade, alternatives, as this is critical to their uptake in public policy, in legislation. If we don't have standards, we miss the whole point. And what is the benefits to the consumer and the benefits of consumer participation? I will not belabor that point. I think it has been really thrashed by so many speakers earlier on. It is very important. Consumer participation in the implementation of standards can help national economies to set up programs to reduce the waste. I think Catherine had quite a lot of that, as well as Nikki. So we need to set programs to reduce waste. We need to help consumers to make sustainable choices. And this can only happen if we have standards. The shift to the 10R circular strategies speaks of recovery, recycling, repurposing, remanufacturing, refurbishing, repairing, reusing, reducing, rethinking, and refusing. This scheme requires effective management. Sorry, Adrian, I think it's not the presentation. That's why I did not use it. It's
Okay.
fine. I'll just speak to these slides
To the
which I
notes,
have.
yes,
Yes,
I got it.
I'll just speak to the notes. This one is for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So these 10 R's are an everyday vocabulary in the consumer movement. I'm sure those of you that are in the consumer movement, these are our daily words, the 10 R's. And it's important that within those 10 R's, we consider the importance of standards. Because, for example, if we are looking of programming around repairing, we also should take care of standards even in the repairs themselves. You cannot just repair without using standards. In fact, some products, if they have not been standardized right at the beginning, they may be difficult to repair when something goes wrong. You want to look at reusing. For example, we are talking about standards even for second-hand clothing. That is reuse. So we need standards, and we need the consumer voices to be able to tell us why we need a particular, to look at particular aspects during the standardization processes. For example, you look at the chemicals that come with second-hand clothes. We understand that after a number of years, certain chemicals might become toxic to the skin. This is an example I'm giving. So it becomes very important to always have the consumer voice whenever we are making standards. So standards have to be key in all these sustainable consumption patterns. The plastic treaty initiatives that we are working on as Consumers International, that in itself as well is a big effort to try and address sustainable consumption issues. All these standards issues that require the consumer collective voice have to be taken into account, and all national standards bodies would really do well if they considered the need for consumer voices in all their operations, particularly in their technical committees. Again, consumer representatives in the circular economy to be able to make informed choices. You know, when we are carrying out consumer awareness, consumer education programs, it's always important for us as consumer advocates to encourage consumers to make informed choices. Choices that are well informed ensure that informed decisions when purchasing products are made. So by choosing items that are durable, that are repairable, that are recyclable, that support the circular economy, is very important because it's good for our world. We will not be dumping, we will not be creating unnecessary waste. The reduction, the reuse, and the repair is very essential. And consumers can maximize waste by opting for products that have a longer lifespan, that can be fixed when need arises. And again, this only happens when those products have been manufactured under certain standards. Energy savings is also another key element of consumer protection initiatives. Supporting energy efficient products contributes to the circular economy. Energy saving appliances and practices do help us as consumers to reduce the overall resource consumption. Again, standards are what we are talking about. Because without standards, we cannot have appliances that can actually, conserve electricity or other forms of energy. Proper disposal, we look at the end of the product's life and say, how can consumers dispose of these products in a safe way, properly? So the recycling, the donations, or even returning of items to the supplier or manufacturer becomes very key, because it's part of the consumer responsibilities as well. So, looking at everything in a nutshell, challenging the status quo, we are saying